local evening news is brought to you by Nagico, local agents Bryson's Insurance.
The ABS Evening News Monday starts now. Good evening, I'm Garfield Burford. A special welcome to those joining us on our various online platforms. Thank you so much for joining us. And at the top of this broadcast, the developing story. Police are raising fresh concerns about repeat offenders, revealing that more than half of the people who were arrested and charged so far this year have been through the system before. The head of the Criminal Investigations Department, the CID, says police are continuing to arrest and charge people, but the cycle will continue unless the wider justice system and the community also play their part. Or Shanakisha Francis has the top story this evening.
Police are expressing concern over the number of people returning to crime after being arrested and charged. The head of the Criminal Investigations Department, Assistant Commissioner of Police Lisbon Michael, says a significant number of people being processed by the police this year have already come into contact with the justice system.
For the year, I'm basically speaking from January to the end of July, we have arrested and charged 369 persons. Of that 369 persons, 205 of those persons are repeated offenders.
Michael says police have also repeatedly arrested people for robbery and other serious offenses. He says the issue is complicated by how sentences are served, including time removed from sentences.
So they normally go plead guilty before the magistrate court. So automatically, 1/3 of that is 8 months will be taken off. Goes to the prison, another 8 months is off. So basically, you will live in with 8 months. But they are not actually spending it. You're looking at sometimes a month or two.
The ACP says some offenders have even boasted about how little time they are expected to spend in prison. He also says police can continue making arrests, but the wider justice system must also play its part.
Now, the police can arrest and charge as much people as they can. But if we are not getting enough support from the other limb of the criminal justice system, we will be kept going around in circles.
The ACP is calling on churches, non-governmental organizations, and members of the public to help in the fight against crime. He says addressing repeat offending cannot be the responsibility of the police alone. Shanakisha Francis, ABS News.
Thanks, Shanakisha. Meanwhile, the comments come just days after Cabinet announced changes to the remission of sentences, with the government saying the reforms are aimed at addressing concerns with the current arrangements. Now, under the new system, which was already signed off by Cabinet at its meeting last Wednesday, the Governor-General has now been added as another layer in the process of the remission or granting remission to prisoners in relation to cutting their sentences for good behavior. Now, based on the past system, that was left up to the prison superintendent. Now, the prison superintendent will make a recommendation to the Governor-General, who will make a determination on the remission of prison sentences for good behavior. Meanwhile, the latest police figures show a mixed picture. Murders and shootings have increased over the first 7 months of this year compared to the same period last year, while some of the other crimes have seen a reduction. Police say between January and July this year, there were 1,756 reported crimes, down from the 1,887 during the same period a year earlier. Here's a breakdown of some of the serious crimes in those figures.
Homicide, 9 last year, we basically have 11 now. Shooting incidents, 18 last year, 24 this year. Looking at robbery offenses, 150 last year, 94 this year. So we're basically down by 21.
While some of the more serious offenses are up, the overall crime figures are not all moving in the same direction. Take a listen.
Most of the category of crimes, there is a decrease, slight decrease, slight increase, some of those. If I were to break it out in terms of breaking in itself,
yes,
because I calculated breaking, burglary, they're breaking offenses. Breaking on its own, you're looking at 85 last year. This year, 97.
Well, ACP Lisburn Michael says the police are keeping a close watch on the more serious violent offences as well. Meanwhile, this developing story at this hour now, because police say they are making progress in their probe into the murder of 60-year-old Eliezer Freshie Francis of Sweets. He was shot dead in a brazen gun attack of the superette he operated on Freeman's Village Main Road on July 24 this year. Here's what the head of the CID, ACP Lisburn Michael, told ABS this morning about the ongoing investigations.
Without going into much detail, it's a very sensitive investigation. All crimes are solvable. It is for the law enforcement officers to go and get the evidence. But I'm quite sure in a very short order, I'll be coming back here and speak about it.
Yeah, all right, so you will...
In a very positive way.
Well, police had indicated last month that 2 people were in custody assisting with their investigation into that murder. Well, police are on the lookout for 3 men who allegedly robbed a supermarket in Seaview Farm on Sunday. The men reportedly entered Harlem supermarket shortly after 2 in the afternoon and made off with a cash register containing an undisclosed sum of money. Here's more on this developing story now, because one of the suspects is described as being about 5 feet 8 inches tall and is wearing a blue hoodie and jeans. The other 2 men were dressed in camouflage and appeared to be armed. Security camera footage or surveillance footage captured the suspects running from the building and getting into a vehicle before driving away, as you see there. Police also report a customer who was conducting business at the time was assaulted and robbed of a wallet containing an undisclosed amount of cash. Investigations into that incident ongoing as we speak. Well, police say they kept close watch on 10 people released from prison just before Carnival, including 5 who had committed serious gun crimes. ACP Lisburn Michael, the head of the CID, says 10 people were released from prison around the end of July, just as the country was heading into the summer festival.
For the end of July, coming into Carnival, 10 persons were released from prison. 5 of those persons were seized criminals who has committed serious gun crimes. I didn't really want to bring an alarm to the general public, but we kept monitoring those persons to prevent any sort of breaches.
He says police were aware of the potential risk and monitored the individuals during the Carnival period as well. The aim, he says, was crime prevention. Well, staying with news about security forces, because several fire officers have been promoted in the wake of the recent appointment of Vivian Parker as a Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of the fire department. Here's more, because Rohan Rodney, who has 38 years of service in the force, has been elevated to the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police and will effectively be the Deputy Fire Chief to DCP Parker. Well, there have also been other promotions to fill vacant posts as a result of ACP Rodney's elevation. Verbin Peters is now a Superintendent of Police. Jeff Africa is now Assistant Superintendent, or ASP. Quincy George is now Inspector. George Delpiche is Senior Sergeant, while Kamaria Jarvis is now a Sergeant. Kahili Nicholas has also been promoted to the rank of Corporal. More on this developing story as well, because as we reported recently, the promotion of Vivian Parker to the rank of Deputy Commissioner marks the first time in the force's history that the head of the fire department is at the rank of Deputy Commissioner. It means the force now has 3 Deputy Commissioners. Normally it had 2, with the other 2 being Albert Wade in charge of operations. Louisa Benjamin Quashie is in charge of administration. In other news, prices at the pumps could eventually see increases as global energy markets continue to be roiled by geopolitical tensions, primarily the war in the Middle East. Prime Minister and Finance Minister, the Right Honourable Gaston Brown, says while the government has absorbed increased costs to cushion the impact on motorists, this cannot be done indefinitely. He was speaking on the Brown and Brown show on PBN on Saturday. Prime Minister Brown says the government continues to incur significant losses as a result of its decision. It's a story that we continue to monitor. We'll keep you across it. Well, the Prices and Consumer Affairs Division is reminding the public that not all businesses may be removing ABST from school supplies and food items this weekend. That's Friday and Saturday, since participation in the ABST relief measure is voluntary. Well, here's Deputy Director of the Prices and Consumer Affairs Division, Joan Peters.
It is not mandatory, and so all suppliers may not be participating in it. And so it's very important that consumers ask the supplier if they are participating in the initiative. It's also wise for consumers to do some comparative shopping. So, the week coming up, they're free to go into town, find out what the prices are so they can know what savings they're going to be realizing during the ABST reduction.
Well, the division is advising our consumers to do some comparative shopping on Friday and Saturday, the 28th and 29th. Peters explains that finding an item at a cheaper price elsewhere after you've already made the purchase does not entitle you to a refund or an exchange. On the other hand, for an item with a flaw or a defect, consumers are entitled to redress regardless of any notice issued by the seller, whether in the store or on the receipt.
If your device is not working, you should not attempt to fix it, but you do not have to hold on to that device and lose your money. If it's a manufacturer defect, you return it to the store and you seek redress. Now, under the Consumer Protection Act, there is an implied 6-month warranty.
Of course, more on this story, of course, we'll keep you across the developments as we get closer to Friday and Saturday. It's the second time this year that the government has instituted such an ABST relief measure. It did so on April 10 and 11, just in time for the start of the new school term at the time, right after the Easter break. It's doing so now ahead of the start of the new school year. Of course, on the 28th and the 29th. So ABST removed, that is reduced from 17 to 0% on a wide assortment of back-to-school items and food supplies. Well, for details on how to get redress and how long after you purchase you can actually get redress for other items, you can contact the division through their social media pages or at 462-4347. That's 462-4347. In other news now, as Antigua and Barbuda prepares for its historic hosting of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, or CHOGM, in November, several locations across the country will be transformed to accommodate the various CHOGM side events. A team from the Commonwealth Business Forum was at the Coolidge Cricket Ground today, the venue for one of the marquee side events to be held November 2 to 4. It's the Commonwealth Business Forum, which will attract the movers and shakers in the Commonwealth in the world of business to discuss consequential issues surrounding business development, especially at a time of rising geopolitical and geo-economic tensions, as well as trade challenges. Rakib Aparicio has our story this evening.
The entire ground itself will be used. That's why the idea of using cricket at the heart is so important.
It's a part of CHOGM 2026 slated for November. Now, ahead of the major international event, organizers are hard at work to ensure all logistics are in place for Antigua and Barbuda's hosting of the Commonwealth Business Forum. The Business Forum, being held at Coolidge Cricket Grounds, is just one of several side events taking place this November. Representative for the Ministry of Finance, Colin John Jenkins, says significant foundational work is already complete. The real work, he says, begins now.
We have started the works in terms of Ministry of Works with the government of Antigua and Barbuda and their stakeholders in starting to get preparations of the venue on the way. We are now just looking at the placements of the marquee tents and just making sure that all of the nuts and bolts are tightened as much as possible.
Earlier this month, organizers completed Operation Resilience, allowing them to get a better understanding of how traffic will flow during the event. On Monday, the focus was ensuring the grounds would have the electrical capacity to sustain the forum. Some 700 to 800 delegates, made up of business leaders, investors, and agencies from across the Commonwealth, will be attending. It's a major opportunity for networking and investment.
This is a far grander scale. For example, SIDS and OAS, just venues alone was only one venue, which was AUA, whereas here we are at AUA, we're at Sticky Wicket for the Business Forum, we're at UE for the Youth Forum, and we're also going to be using the Johnny St. Louis for other side events.
Rakib Aparicio reporting for ABS News.
Ricky, thanks. Meanwhile, there's still time for you to get involved in CHOGM. The CHOGM Finance Task Force's Cordella Weston says the CHOGM side events and meetings offer great opportunities for you to showcase your business ventures to hundreds of people. Take a listen.
Not only the business forum where we look more at business, but also you have the women's forum, you also have the people's forum, and you also have the youth forum, which are also key areas of the government's mandate that they aim to help promote, and those areas also need to have your support.
Well, Cordella Weston also sits on the committee planning the Commonwealth Business Forum. Now, for more information on how you can come on board as a partner on the side events, you're urged to contact the event's respective committees. Of course, there are 4 forums which will be held alongside the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, the Commonwealth Business Forum, which we referenced there from Rakib Aparisio, which will be held at the Coolidge Cricket Ground. There's a People's Forum, the Women's Forum, and the Youth Forum. Plus, there will be an ice summit and a sports summit as well, all packed around CHOGM in November. An absolute febrile and frenetic period for this country. Well, Antigua Barbuda continues to play a key role in disaster preparedness and management as the focal point in the sub-region, with the recent hosting of a major training in the management of emergency operations centers. The exercise has come at a crucial time as the region enters the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. Helisha Humphreys has a report on the closing ceremony at the National Office of Disaster Services last week.
34 participants representing 7 countries completed the Emergency Operations Center Management Training facilitated by Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA. SEDEMA's Preparedness and Response Program Manager, Mandela Christopher, shared some of the main takeaways.
We have stronger EOC management capacity across the SEDEMA overseas territories and Antigua and Barbuda, the Eastern Sub-Regional Focal Point, which should translate into more streamlined, coordinated, and efficient EOC operations in your respective states. Secondly, a clearer understanding of the SEDEMA regional response mechanism and the suite of tools and services and surge support that is available to all of you during emergency periods.
Christopher also reminded the representatives that support is only a phone call away. The training featured instructors from across the region, including past senior military officials and national disaster coordinators.
We look forward to the fruits of this training and so on really manifesting in much smoother operations at the sub-regional level. So on behalf of NODS as a sub-regional focal point, we want to thank you, the participants, the OTs, for all of the good work that you've put in, all of the interactions, all of the comments, the feedback that has been critical for us, and we look forward in the future for much more engagement at various levels.
Helisha Humphreys, ABS News.
Thanks, Alicia. Now, Miss Antigua and Barbuda Zane Frederick is set to represent the country once again, this time at the 4th season of the Essence and Mind Swimwear pageant in St. Martin. Well, Frederick is coming off a successful pageant run, having won the Antigua Queen of Carnival title in July before representing the country at the Miss Caribbean Culture Queen pageant in Nevis, where she also claimed that crown. Well, here's one. Now she takes that momentum to the Essence and Mind stage as she looks to add another regional title to her growing pageant resume. The organizers have officially welcomed Frederick to season 4, highlighting Antigua Barbuda's culture, heritage, and Caribbean spirit. Well, the pageant will take place on October 3 at the Ali's Convention Hall in St. Martin. Well, the Antigua Public Utilities Authority, the APUA, is making significant progress toward the rollout of a SCADA system designed to improve the monitoring and management of its utility operations. Well, the authority is now in the process of installing monitoring equipment as it moves toward the full implementation of the system, which is expected to take place over a 3-year period. Well, APUA's Acting Water Business Unit Manager Jason Peters says once the monitors are fully installed, they will provide real-time information on water flows at different locations across the island. The data collected will be channeled through a central system, allowing technicians to access that information. More coming up in subsequent newscasts. We're keeping across those developing stories. Here's a quick programming note. Be sure to join us at 8 this evening, right after the ABS Evening News, for another edition of The Census and You. Of course, we continue to talk about the 2025 population and housing census. Started last year, continues into this year, and the National Bureau of Statistics is hoping to complete the fieldwork, the enumeration exercise, by the end of this year. But they say it all depends on your cooperation and participation. So here is this program coming up at 8. It essentially deconstructs all you need to know about the census. It demystifies it. And it also removes any sort of misconceptions that might be floating around in the public domain. We'll have 2 officials of the Census Office joining us this evening, including the Director of the National Bureau of Statistics, Stachel Edwards. They'll be talking with us about the work so far, where they are across the country as their teams are fanning out, and all you need to know about the questionnaire. This evening, we're focusing primarily on the questionnaire. We'll be discussing some of the questions that you're being asked. So look out, 8 o'clock, the Census and You. Also coming up, also another programming note. Be sure to join us at 6 tomorrow morning for another edition of Antigua Barbuda Today. Of course, it's always the best way to start today. A bit later on, we'll show you some of the guests whom you'll be hearing from tomorrow. Starting at 6, ends at 9. Here's a quick update, or here's a quick indication of what you can expect to see coming up right after this break on the ABS Evening News, on air and online. Festivals Commission eyes bigger budget for the staging of the country's 70th anniversary of Carnival. We'll be hearing from the officials of the Festivals Commission in their latest update. And a bit later on in sports, the Antigua Barbuda Pitbulls return home after, well, actually we'll talk about the Pitbulls as well. We'll also talk about the Antigua Barbuda Falcons because they were defeated by the Guyana Amazon Warriors last night. Guyana Amazon Warriors were irresistible. The Falcons had their wings clipped. We'll explain. And a bit later on, we'll also talk about the Antigua Barbuda Pitbulls returning home after a strong finish of the just concluded Under-18 Invitational Basketball Tournament in St. Lucia. We'll be hearing about their reactions to a tournament in which they placed second. We'll keep you across those developments in sports later. But first, the break ahead of more national news. Still stay with us, please.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like knowing you're covered when your house gets flooded, getting your settlements quickly and fairly when a fire hits your home, and making sure your business can keep going even after an accident happens on site. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
It's first to top ranking on the Old Palm Road, then back to school. We have amazing deals. $5 composition books or 6 for $24. 25% off J-World bags. 20% off backpacks and lunch kits. 15% off school supplies and bottles. 10% off socks. The back to school deals continues on school accessories. Remember, it's first to top ranking on the Old Palm Road and then back to school. At top ranking, high prices always get the spanking.
Top ranking.
What happened?
Listen, I really wanted some pineapples, but it don't seem like if you all accept any card here.
No, I don't.
All right, next time. Wait, you know you can use ECAP Tap to Pay, right?
Tap to what?
Yeah, Tap to Pay. You have a phone, right? Yeah, you see your Android phone, your Android tablet, they can be your card machines. You don't need no big terminal.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. You can just call ECAP and they'll sort you out. Listen, I did it for my business and it was the best thing I've ever done.
Thanks for the information.
No problem. Let me show you.
With ECAP, your Android phone or tablet is your payment terminal. Call 480-6186 or email cardservices@ecabank.com to apply for our Tap to Pay feature.
Tap to Pay.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're in tune to the ABS Evening News on air and online. Continuing the national news now, let's turn to the orange economy. The Antigua-Barbuda Festivals Commission is hoping for an increase in its budgetary allocation to support plans for the 70th anniversary of Antigua's Carnival next year. Chairman of the Antigua-Barbuda Festivals Commission, Ambassador Elizabeth McCool, says the commission is seeking additional funding to support traditional mass and other key areas of the annual celebrations. The 2027 edition of Carnival will also include several additions to the schedule. Take a listen.
The season's coming back next year. I think I'm going to make them sign a contract. Now we're looking at things, but we are looking at the schedule. That's one of the things we're going to look at. There would be no gaps since there's no days off. Apparently there's no days off. So we're going to be given July 20th. We're going to have an opening ceremony. And it goes until August 3rd.
Well, the Commission will also be focusing more heavily on online ticket sales, using the data to track what the chairman says appears to be a significant decline in local participation.
These are the things that we need to do to be able to keep up or to be able to compete.
Yeah. Well, the One Nation Music Festival could be expanded to 3 days next year. Chair of the Antigua-Barbuda Festivals Commission, Ambassador Elizabeth McCool, made that suggestion during Saturday's Brown and Brown show on PBN. Take a listen.
We're hosting it the 9th and the 10th of January. Maybe we might introduce a third date. We have to speak to the boss.
Well, the festival is held every January to promote unity among the nation. The festival is usually held over a 2-day period. Well, that's to take us out of a look at the national developments here that we're tracking closely. Much more, of course, on all our platforms, including our various and growing social media platforms. We thank the 190,000 people who've followed us on Facebook. Our time now for us to turn our attention to the weather report and forecast. Joining us this evening is Jaleel Jacobs, and Jaleel will tell us one, about what we're looking at to the east in the Eastern Atlantic, what we're hearing about a tropical disturbance that is being watched very closely. It is supposed to have come off the coast of Africa today. Jaleel will talk to us about that. Plus, the weather closer to home. Do we have any more tropical waves in the offing to bring a little bit more moisture? Good evening to you, Jaleel.
Well, good evening, Garfield, and good evening to the viewing audience. And yes, we do have some, a little closer to home, we have some potential showers. Later this week, we have some potential showers. And of course, what everybody is looking at just emerged off of the coast of Africa. I'll to give you more about these systems when we get back from the break.
The weather report is brought to you by Leeward Islands Hurricane Protection.
When the skies are clear and the winds are calm, we often forget how unpredictable Mother Nature can be. But when a hurricane strikes, it's the strength of your home that matters most. Whether you are preparing for your first storm or looking to upgrade your current protection, Leeward Islands Hurricane Protection has got you covered. Our expert team handles everything from custom design to professional installation, ensuring your home is as strong as it is beautiful. Call today for a free consultation. Leeward Islands Hurricane Protection, built strong to weather any storm.
Thank you for staying with us. And right away, we take a look at the National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical outlook, and we see right here, straight across the entire tropical Atlantic, we're seeing that this particular X marks the spot. This particular tropical wave would have moved off the coast of Africa just today, and forecast models are indicating that once this tropical wave moves into this particular region here, that is very favorable for development over the next few days. And in fact, we are looking at a possible tropical depression by midweek or later towards the end of the week. But so far, the system is now moving west to west-northwest. And so on the current track, still very early days, but on the current track, as it moves through this particular area of conducive weather, it should develop and stay clear of the Eastern Caribbean. As you can see, the Eastern Caribbean Leeward Islands are down here, and it's going to take this west-northwestward track just north of the area. Again, we have very early days on this particular system, but we are going to continue monitoring as it develops over the next week and a half or so. But what I can tell you is a tropical depression should form later in this week, and it looks very favorable. Right now, we're at a 60% chance of formation within this particular area over the next 7 days, and a 40% chance over the next 48 hours. A little bit closer to home, we're going to start here in the central Atlantic. This particular tropical wave should continue to move northwestward across the tropical Atlantic towards the eastern Caribbean, particularly the Leeward Islands later on in this week, and I'll tell you what that will do when it gets closer to us. Right now, this another tropical wave here is expected to cross over the eastern Caribbean later tonight into tomorrow, and we could expect some shower activity tonight into tomorrow morning and early tomorrow afternoon, and gradual improvements by tomorrow night as these tropical waves move out of our particular region. So again, our air quality index is expected to go down to moderate levels from this afternoon actually, and then last tomorrow. Then it will ease off on Wednesday, return on Thursday. So we're more of a day, no day kind of thing with the air quality, and so persons in sensitive groups and health implications continue to practice your precautionary measures, as deep Saharan dust will be around, as is the trend for this particular hurricane season and summer months. Tonight we're looking at a 60% chance of showers on the partly cloudy skies. Winds will remain generally out of the east at 7 to 18 miles per hour. Our low temperature tonight will fall to 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow we maintain a 60% chance tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies with slightly hazy conditions. High temperature tomorrow, 33 degrees Celsius. Winds out of the east at 7 to 18 miles per hour. Our sunrise in the morning at 5:52, while the sun will set at 6:26 p.m. tomorrow. Our marine 24-hour forecast, 4 to 6 feet on no significant wave heights. Winds in open waters, east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour. No advisories at this time, but again, excellent conditions for small craft operators and sea bathers. However, always remain vigilant during your marine activities. So I look further into the week. We've covered tomorrow, Tuesday, 60% chance, slightly hazy skies, down to 40%, and 40% Wednesday and Thursday. And as we can see here, showers are expected on Friday, periods of moderate to heavy showers with a 60% chance of thunderstorms on Friday, as upper level conditions will remain or will be quite conducive to that thunderstorm activity. So we're going for a moderate chance of thunderstorms. Continue to monitor the weather situation if you have plans on Friday and on Saturday. Winds will stay generally out of the east at 7 to 18 miles per hour. Temperatures around 33 degrees Celsius, dropping to 32 on a Friday. Low temperatures remain at 25 degrees Celsius, down to 24 degrees on Friday. And again, marine conditions remain excellent throughout the week, 4 to 6 feet, from now until a Friday. Send your pictures and your videos to our ABMS iWatch. Our WhatsApp number is here. Engage with us. We'll engage with you. If anything is weather-worthy or you have any questions, comments, you can always shoot us a message at our iWatch. We will shout you out if you send us your pictures and your videos. So that's it for me tonight. Back to you at the desk, Garfield.
Thank you so much, Jalil. Really appreciate it. Very comprehensive there indeed. So I'm pretty sure that the cricket fans and the cricketers were hanging on to your every word, because there is a final match for the Falcons at home tomorrow against the Barbados Tridents. So I'm pretty sure that they welcomed what you said, that there should be some rain tonight into tomorrow, and then gradually it will improve tomorrow night, correct? Yeah, tomorrow night we should have some improvement, clearer skies, maybe it's a quick passing shower, but nothing to disrupt the Falcon Nation comeback after last night. It sounds like you were there at the match. No, I missed that one last night, but okay. I'm going to try to be there. But you monitored. I monitored. Hung on to every ball. Absolutely. Very good. But in relation to that potential cyclone that's coming over the coast of Africa, we'll continue to monitor it very closely at this point, right? Yes, we'll continue to monitor it very closely. It does show signs of development into a tropical depression, as I mentioned, later on in this week. However, the area above us still remains hostile, so it will, so far, forecast models are veering it north of the islands. But again, very early days on this system, and we will continue to monitor and bring the timely updates every single day. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate the great service that yourself and your colleagues at the Met Office do for us and for the nation. Really appreciate it, Jalil Jacobs, ensuring, and he and his colleagues ensuring that we are the place for timely, incredible updates on your forecast, whatever the vicissitudes may be. All right, turning our attention to the look at news overseas. When we come back, we'll take you to a look at those, including this one. Controversy surrounding the Caribbean Court of Justice continues, with trust emerging as a major issue. We'll hear from a political scientist weighing in on that matter. And further afield, a landslide at a garbage dump in Guinea's capital, Conakry, kills at least 30 people, with several still missing. A mountain of garbage fell on them. People say the authorities are to blame because they warned them about this. We'll keep you across that. Coming up next, stay with us.
Reporting live from Caribbean Union Bank's press conference, where bank representatives will address its customers and the media, explaining just how CUB simplifies life through its financing.
Today, my team and I will share with you how CUB's financial solutions are designed to simplify your life. Now, let's open the floor for any questions that you may have.
How can you help me as a retiree?
That's a good question. We offer customized retirement solutions at competitive rates.
How easy is it for me to switch my mortgage to CUB?
With attractive interest rates and minimal switching fees, CUB makes switching mortgages easy.
Do you offer point-of-sale machines?
Absolutely. All point-of-sale systems can speed up checkout and boost sales.
Those were great questions, and our team is here to further support you. We're Caribbean Union Bank, the bank that cares, and our doors are open to welcome you.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are in tune with the ABS Evening News on air and online. Turning now to the look at news overseas, starting in the region. And a trust has emerged as a major issue in the controversy surrounding the Caribbean Court of Justice. The court is facing a serious internal dispute following the leak of confidential judicial correspondence, along with disagreements over the dress code for judges. Well, political scientist Professor Hamid Ghani says the public fallout could damage the court's credibility and undermine confidence in the institution, as TTT News reports.
I think that this is a matter of grave concern because this is not how courts usually operate. Courts don't operate in a manner whereby you have judges sort of duking it out in public with one another and making all the kinds of allegations and statements that are being made, which could really have been resolved behind closed doors. And the public would never know that all of this is going on. So it is a very concerning matter, and it goes to the heart of confidence and trust in the court, because it's highly unusual for judges to behave in this way.
Noting that only 5 CARICOM countries have the CCJ as their final court of appeal, Professor Ghani indicated that the dispute is ill-timed.
Episode coming as it does when it has emerged is not going to provide or inspire any public confidence that this is the kind of court that we want to move from the Privy Council to adopt this. And I think that a lot of repair work and damage control has to be done now.
Professor Ghani noted that Jamaica's ongoing Republican debate remains divided on adopting the CCJ as its final court of appeal, adding that the current controversy does little to inspire confidence in the institution.
Turning now to Guyana, Guyana's candidate for United Nations Secretary General, Ambassador Caroline Rodriguez Burkett, says she would prioritize preventive diplomacy and to take a closer look at past peace efforts as part of a strategy to help resolve some of the world's most protracted conflicts. Here's more, because Rodriguez Burkett, who is seeking to succeed current UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, said she believes examining what has and has not worked in previous conflicts could reveal new opportunities for diplomatic engagement. She said that if selected for the UN's top post, she would also seek to strengthen the organization's use of preventive diplomacy, including acting on warning signs before tensions escalate into conflict. Well, more than 160 Haitians have been deported from the United States following the end of temporary protected status, or TPS, for hundreds of thousands of Haitian nationals. Well, here's more, because a plane carrying 161 deportees landed Thursday in Cape Haitian in northern Haiti rather than Port-au-Prince, the capital, where ongoing gang violence has made travel increasingly dangerous, according to CBS News. The deportation flight comes after the U.S. ended TPS protections, affecting roughly 350,000 Haitians who had been permitted to live and work legally in the country. The U.S. government currently prohibits commercial flights to Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, because of security concerns, with a restriction in place through early September. Jean Negro Bonnet Deva, Director General of Haiti's National Office of Migration, said the group arriving Thursday included TPS holders as well as Haitians who had completed prison sentences in the U.S. On that story, take a sort of a look at regional developments. Up next, a look at international news and the grim scenes from Conakry, the capital of Guinea in Africa, as a mountain of garbage falls on unsuspecting people. Dozens are dead. That story next.
From Booster Seeds, I carry no cash. I tap and pay. I'm done in the flash.
Adventure is done. We grab a bite. I tap my card. It feels just right.
We booked our trip and paid with ease. Checked my rewards. Upgrade, yes please.
Paid it online while out with the crew. Tap for drinks. It's easy to do.
They tap, I drive. It's quick, it's clear. No counting cash or waiting here.
I use my card to keep things smooth. And my rewards? Wow, they really move.
ACB Visa Credit Card. My life, my card, my rewards. Get yours today. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. International news now. Let's go to Africa first. In Guinea, a landslide at a garbage dump outside the capital, Conakry, has claimed the lives of at least 30 people. The government of the West African country says it has mobilized significant resources to try and find survivors that may still be trapped under massive piles of waste. Less than a week ago, that same government had announced plans to close the Dar es Salaam landfill due to dangerous conditions there. Here's more from Al Jazeera.
Somewhere beneath this mountain of garbage, people are buried. Some of the poorest and most vulnerable in Guinea live in the shadows of this giant open-air city-run waste site in the country's capital, Conakry. Recent government pledges that the landfill was going to be closed and relocated due to the danger it posed came too late.
At 2 a.m., we were sleeping when we heard a loud noise. There were 4 or 5 people from the family who went out to see what had happened. They went out, suddenly we saw this first break, but the rubbish had not yet come this far. Then the second wave came and knocked over the house.
After the first landslide struck, community members rushed to help those buried, only to become victims themselves.
When the young people mobilized to go over there was a second landslide then. All the people who went there to help ended up being buried.
There is anger and anguish here as the search continues for many of those too young to flee in the darkness. In some cases, entire families were buried together. Authorities are now pledging to mobilize resources for those affected, but residents who've been protesting against having to live surrounded by garbage and human waste for years say the deaths are the consequence of government inaction.
We, the young people of Dar es Salaam neighborhood, did everything we could to prevent this. We organized sit-ins. We invited the officials from the relevant departments, but they didn't take it seriously. I blame the state because it didn't take the necessary measures to have the dump closed.
Grim scenes there from Guinea in Africa. Well, the U.S.-Canada trade tensions or trade war shows no sign of easing. Canadian negotiators walked away from talks in Washington as Prime Minister of Canada Mark Carney accused the Trump administration of making disproportionate demands at the last minute. Well, the U.S. now is levying 50% tariffs on $20 billion of Canadian goods, with Canada retaliating with tariffs on U.S. goods set to take effect in early September. Well, the fight could have serious consequences for both countries' economies. They're neighbors in North America. Here's more from France 24.
Geographical neighbors, military allies, and now trade war adversaries. The U.S. and Canada are locked in a high-stakes standoff after trade talks fell apart late Friday. American tariffs of 50% on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods quickly took effect. Over the weekend, Trump administration officials predicted Ottawa would soon yield.
Canada gets the benefit of trading with the U.S. way more than the U.S. gets the benefit of trading with Canada. I think you're going to see Mark Carney come to the table very, very quickly because it's going to be devastating for his country.
So far, though, Canada's Prime Minister shows no signs of backing down. As of September 8th, dollar-for-dollar Canadian tariffs on U.S. products, including steel, dairy, farm equipment, paper, and electronics, are set to take effect. A new poll released Sunday shows a strong majority of Canadians, 76%, support their government standing up to the U.S.
Well, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent held a press conference today to announce a new round of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran as part of what the Trump administration described as a broader, sustained financial campaign known as Operation Economic Outcast. The administration said the initiative is designed to intensify economic pressure on Tehran by targeting key sources of revenue and financial networks that support the Iranian government. As we hear from Al Jazeera.
Today, in that same spirit, we are launching an economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe. Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. Iran's fanatics devote themselves to death to America and seek nuclear weapons to do just that. They have murdered and maimed more of our citizens and service members than any other terrorist regime on earth. And they have been at war against America, their neighbors in the Gulf, and much of the world for 47 years. President Trump has taken action that his predecessors have long deferred. And under his leadership, America is no longer managing the Iranian threat. We are ending it.
Scott Bessent there, the U.S. Treasury Secretary. Now, let's stay in the U.S. because a fast-growing wildfire in Nevada has forced about 90,000 people to evacuate from Reno as firefighters battle the human-caused blaze. The Hawk Fire has scorched nearly 11,000 acres, destroying homes and vehicles and leaving about 5,000 people without power. More than 800 firefighters are tackling that fire, supported by aircraft dropping water on the flames. Here's more from Al Jazeera.
A wall of fire above the hills of Reno in the US state of Nevada. Driven by wind, the Hawk Fire exploded in size, forcing tens of thousands of people to flee with little to no warning. Several people have been injured. The wildfire began on Saturday and spread rapidly through dry bush into the Peavine Peak area of the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest. Within hours, it scorched close to 11,000 acres, destroying homes and vehicles.
We know that we have lost structures within the fire area. We are currently undergoing an assessment and getting teams in there to evaluate exactly what those numbers are. Additionally, we have 5,000 individuals who are currently without power to their residences and properties. And lastly, we can confirm that the fire was human-caused.
More than 800 firefighters are battling the blaze on the ground and in the air. Emergency shelters have opened across the city, with thousands now seeking refuge. Power is only just starting to be restored.
Well, that story from Al Jazeera taking us out of a look at news overseas. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the sporting developments in this country's budding basketballers. While they return from St. Lucia with an impressive performance, they talk about it. We met them at the airport this afternoon. Plus, the Antigua Barbuda Falcons looking to rebound following a loss to the Ghana Amazon Warriors last night. We'll keep you across the stories in sports next.
From the richness of the Caribbean soil,
fresh, pure, naturally powerful.
from wholesome roots to irresistible crunch. made for your kitchen, your business,
your lifestyle.
Export quality, Caribbean grown.
Crispa, real Caribbean, real flavor. Available now.
Welcome back, Sporting Developments now, and let's start with a look at basketball because the Antigua Barbuda Pitbulls are back home following a second place finish from an under-18 invitational basketball tournament in St. Lucia. It's the team's first overseas engagement in about a decade. Our Samantha Simon was at the BC Bird International Airport as the team returned this afternoon. Take a look.
The Antigua and Barbuda Pitbulls returned to the Twin Islands state Monday after competing in an under-18 invitational tournament in St. Lucia. The team, made up of players from the school league program, went through an elimination process to narrow down a pool of about 30 players to a final squad of 15.
We went to an under-18 invitational tournament, and it's basically the first time in about 10 years these Pitbulls have been overseas on any engagement, and they did pretty well. They came second and they exceeded our expectations because it was the first time in a long while they had any overseas engagement, and they handled themselves well and represented Antigua and Barbuda well.
Brown says the journey was a challenging one. The team's flight was delayed and players were taken directly from the airport to their opening match against Trinidad and Tobago, who went on to win the tournament. 2 players stood out for the Pitbulls. Jaden Lewis of the St. Joseph Academy and Johan Nicholas of St. Mary's Secondary were both named to the all-tournament team, recognizing the best 5 players overall.
We practiced hard for the last 2 months, and based off what all our coaches was telling us, we just put that into the game. It was playing good.
For Nicholas, the honor was confirmation of months of preparation.
That made me feel good. It made me feel that the work I put in wasn't meaningless. I could see everything coming through.
Team captain Nathan Matthew says the squad is already looking ahead to its next overseas outing.
I feel like it was a great tournament. We tried our best. We got the outcome that we didn't want, but we came second after round. It was good. I think that the next time when we go out there, we're gonna pursue for first place and win.
Brown says the program's goal is to groom players for the senior national team, the Bulldogs. For now, the Pitbulls say they are taking the lessons from St. Lucia and building towards the next tournament. Samantha Simon, ABS News.
Thanks, Samantha. The title was won by NCA Warriors of Trinidad and Tobago. Cricket now, and let's turn to news on this developing story that we've been reporting on. The Antigua Barbuda Falcons went down by 7 wickets to Guyana Amazon Warriors in the Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League last night. While the Falcons were outplayed in front of their home fans at Sir Vivian Richards Stadium as they were skittled out for 116 in 17 overs. Pacer Shamar Joseph taking 3 for 22 in 3 overs, and there were 2 wickets apiece for Harry Peer and Imran Tahir. Amir Django top scored with 37, while the last 5 Falcons wickets fell for only 20 runs. The Warriors then made light work of the target, reaching 121 for 3 in just 9.5 overs, with Shimon Hetmar leading the way with 49 and Shehab undefeated on 47, both stroke-filled innings. The victory catapulted the Warriors to the top of the 7-team table, with wins in all their 3 matches so far. Falcons are now 3rd on the table. Their final game of their home campaign, their final home game of their 2026 campaign, will be against Barbados Tridents tomorrow evening at 7. You heard earlier from Jalil the weather should be good. For that, the rain should have ended by the time play starts. There are no matches in the CPL this evening. And there's more news about the CPL because in relation to flights, Mile High Travels has launched a series of special charter flights connecting cricket fans across the region to Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League 2026 matches, with services linking Antigua, St. Kitts, Trinidad, Guyana and Barbados throughout the tournament. Well, the flight program runs from the 24th of August through the 12th of September this year, following the tournament's biggest matches in person as the CPL moves between host territories. Well, multiple flights are scheduled each week across the network, giving supporters flexibility to plan their CPL journey around the fixtures that matter most to them. Now, while these flights are available for fans coming to CPL games, they are also a convenient way to move around the region at affordable prices, according to Mile High Travels. Of course, the CPL, of course, is all the rave across the region. It's called the greatest party in sport. All right, more cricket now, and just a quick update in relation to the second test match between India and hosts Sri Lanka in Colombo. At Stumps on day 2, Sri Lanka are in big trouble against India. India declaring on 503 for 9. And in response, Sri Lanka in their first innings are 8 for 2, the Sri Lankans at Stumps on day 2. And there are 2 centurions for the Indians in their first innings. A century of 117 by Devdutt Padikkal. He's absolutely in a purple patch. 117 from him, and 115 from Dhruv Jurel. That should be Dhruv Jurel, who is, of course, also batting brilliantly as well. He was undefeated on 115. So 117, Devdutt Padikkal, Dhruv Jurel on not out on 115 when they declared on 503 for 9. As we said, 8 for 2. The Sri Lankans going into day 3, which starts in about another few hours' time in Colombo. Turning now to football, and UEFA President Alexander Ceferin has ruled himself out of the running to replace Gianni Infantino. But according to BBC Sport, he says he expects a candidate to challenge the FIFA president's leadership in March. Here's more now, because Infantino has faced calls to step down after he scrapped a controversial plan to sell off stakes in FIFA's competitions to private investors following widespread opposition. UEFA led the backlash to the plan, with its members voting to boycott World Cups unless it was scrapped, while European football's governing body said it has lost confidence in Gianni Infantino. So Alexander Ceferin says he's not interested in the job, but he wants Infantino gone. All right, that's a look at the sporting developments and indeed our newscast. Really appreciate your company. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Garfield Burford. Pleasant evening, pleasant viewing. A reminder, coming up next, you can't afford to miss a powerful edition of The Census and You. It is unmissable at 8 o'clock. We'll tell you why the census enumerators are out and about asking questions and why those are crucial for national development. Stachel Edwards, the director of the National Bureau of Statistics, and Andrew Nurse, member of the Technical Advisory Committee, join us in another few minutes. Stay with us for that. Bye-bye.
Frank Sampson, and I'm watching ABS TV. You should too. I'm out.